Um, Hello, everyone. My name is Andreas. I am designer of Endorphins. It's really glad to have you here. We are making a workshop in SchneidersLaden. It's our first workshop, and I hope we will come more often here. We are really lucky to visit Berlin in the summer. It's really like you have a great weather right now. I mean, in general as well. But right now it's just the temperature is amazing, and the Berlin is just really amazing city. So I want to show you some modules, and I want to show you our products, and just try to explain you some small ideas and some how to say how the brand identity, what we are thinking about the modular, and how we try to manage the Euro rack with the external gear. And I hope it will be fun for you. I mean, it will take like a bit of like 1 hour. I will show you the patching. There is nothing patching. We will just do some simple patching from more complex things, and I will explain you on the things, and I think you will be very inspired afterwards. That's afterwards. It's important. Yeah, exactly. So what we have here is like, with this like so I was born in Ukraine. I was born in Kiev, and after I like 12 or 15 years ago, I was living in Austria. When I was starting with endorphins, I did some like dual oscillators. It was like standing like in there, and afterwards I returned to Kiev, and I started to manufacture in the process it just because of the bureaucratical reasons. And during that moment, I met Julia, and we started together as Endorphins. And after a few years, also it's doing for making partnership with our Alex for distribution is a daughter company of SchneidersLaden. We started to find ways where we need to move to EU, and since 9 years we located in Barcelona. Since like 1 year we moved out, so we are outside of the city, and all the manufacturing we do in the province, in the Barcelona province. We have started as a Eurorack brand, and probably like that's a Eurorack how the SchneidersLaden also kind of that's how all the stuff started. The interesting modules, it's the modules that can inspire, because at some point the gear started like this normal gear, but then the Eurorack brought some fresh air in the things, and through the years we managed to did lots of things, starting from Buchla inspired stuff, but up to some kind of absolutely go into the techno direction. That's like techno music or rhythmical music direction, going with some kind of like 909 inspiration modules. We have the sequencer afterwards, and we did with some pedals, which play nicely with the synthesizers. Hello. I will show you how to make a very small and just efficient patch, because at some point, like when you come up with Eurorack, you always need to think in like, okay, I need some case, I need some kind of selection of modules, or maybe I will go to some Buchla, and maybe I will go to the things, maybe I will go to standalone. So in the end, like the choice is always free, and you can just need to choose, but then afterwards you invest in the ecosystem, and the ecosystem is something that what you are dealing with, because you need to have a case, you need to have a rails, you need to have like their all those things that will work all together with you on stage. And if you want to, or if you want to record it in the studio, or if you want to go like, I don't know, just for inspiration, I mean, it depends on the thing where you want to go. And I worked a lot with my partner Julia. She right now we have a small kid that is playing just in the backyard of SchneidersLaden. And since recent, like many years, like probably 5 or 6, 7 years, we working were like together closely, because at some point she started very like nice as an artist. She has an artist career, and from my point of view, I started to get inspiration on their modules or some kind of things, or just fill in the gaps of what she can feel of I can feel, just like so the case will be like light, and we can get like easier, she can get easier on the plane on herself without like having lots of gear. So at some point the system should be efficient, so it could be like a live system, but in the end, what is live system? Live system is just like a Eurorack case in the end, that you come to the, I don't know, to the club, to the venue, you just pack it on, you open it on, and then just public come, and you just need to rock, you need to show something, you know. And that's probably not like the best definition, but in the end, it's, and what is like the selection of the modules defines probably the music style, what will go afterwards, you know. So what we have here, it's just an example case that we had at Superboost, and it was so efficient that I really want to explain very, very fast. And right now we will go with the patch very fast. You will see how it works, because I mean every brand, every modular brand, every music instruments brand has own philosophy and has own ideas and own inspirations. And of course, like I can clearly see lots of like brands from US, for example, like brands inspired by 60s, by 70s, by experimental music, and the modules go into more like experimentation stuff. It's also interesting, like everyone has a different philosophy, right? Personally, me, and I don't know, like I grew up on a Western, like 12 temperate music, whatever, like simple, like standard temperate scale. And for personally, of course, all our visions that we put also in the Eurorack, we also like to more into playing more melodical stuff. That's why more like in melodical inspirations. And so for me, it was also always important, like, okay, I have some melody in mind, or I just like can play it in the piano and synthesizer. I can do it, duplicate it, and play it on Eurorack, and just, or vice versa. So it should somehow coincide, right? So that's why it was always important to play some kind of context in the melodical thing. So it's just something that can you hear from the radio, you can see from on MTV. So it gets you hooked, you know, in a way. Maybe, I mean, maybe it's a good way, bad way. So and the system consists are what we have here. I see. I mean, we just it fills. It's IntelliJo for UKs. It fills with our first generator. It's a first module I designed. It was a kind of inspiration for Buchla 259, and you know, in the Buchla everything is in numbers. It's like you have okay, I just got some 281. I just have some the thing in 259 and 261. It's the one with the things, and then E. So I mean, in the end, there was like 12 years ago or 13 years ago, there was no complex oscillators. There was no tongue. There was no like variety of modules. The Eurorack only like started, and there was kind of a golden era in the end. So okay, and I saw the video like famous with the first generator, and it was pretty like hooked up. So like, okay, we can do some nice. I can do it, and I started to learn the schematics, and I just simulated it all myself, and it kind of worked. And afterwards, I started together. In the end, it worked. And I did the tuners myself, so which is just a simple code in the end, but it worked. It was working. So their idea was we have the West Coast synthesis, but tweaked to have plain some melodical content, right? And let's get further with the thing. So after many years, we released many products, but we have here probably the most prominent ones, or something that one of you may know. So we have the Ghost. It's our collaboration with Andrew, and it's an effect processor, but it can combine with any oscillators. It creates any voice, you know, and synth voice is a kind of a piece of something that's very important, because all those patching in Eurorack is nice, and all those cables are good, but everything comes with a synth voice. So you have like lots of even you have a few fully chaotic stuff, but in the end, even like the most chaotic stuff are organized with the voices, right? So and we have the Ghost with the further that creates another voice. The first one, sorry. We have the new Godspeed, the oscillator that was we did 6 or 7 years ago, and now we have the new version with the MIDI. And because right now there is a lot of MIDI within Eurorack, and MIDI with stereo cables with 3.5 cables. It's really pretty convenient right now to use. And then we have another Ghost module, so it creates another voice. Then we have a simple it's a Queen of Pentacles. It's our drum module that was kind of take on 909 inspirations. It has three analog drum voices and 4 sample-based voices. And all the rest, everything is just patched into the range of 2 cockpit mixers. So we have simple mixer with encoders, so you can patch anything into the left and right. And with a simple touch of encoder, you can unmute it or unmute it. So in the end, it's a simple idea, but it required a bit of programming. It required lots of electronic engineers, because you can do that simple. You need a VCAs and so on, which controlled by the digital. But we have here also the Milky Way. Milky Way is very famous effect module that we did release 7 years ago, and it was a simple effect processor, but in the end, over the years, simple algorithms, they did pretty nice things, right? And the Golden Master, in the end, it's end-of-chain processor, which is multi-band compressor. There was no multi-band compressor at the time, and I get a Finalizer Express from a friend, and it was nice to try it out, and it was big inspiration. Okay, I need to make a multi-band compressor. So I want to show you, let's make a very simple patch, and let's go through forward, because maybe I'm talking a bit too much. So I have here the drum module. Let's start with the drums, very simple. And basically the Eurorack drums, they are all triggered with some analog triggers. So I connected lots of cables from the drum trigger sequencer, which we have. The ground control is our Eurorack sequencer, which was very hard to develop, but it's just it is as it is. It's you can play the sequencer in your live Eurorack case, and then you can close it and you can just travel, and then everything is there. So everything that you played, that you recorded, it saves. It can create drums, it can create melodies. It has SH101 sequencer. So I mean, in the end, it's a very essential a sequencer for playing some electronic music. And I mean, electronic music, I say in probably more rhythmical music. Not, I mean, of course, it's possible to play more ambient, but in the end, it has lots of triggers. So basically, I'm starting to patch, and some of the patches that we do, it's probably all the time they are all the same, and it's just placing the triggers all the time from here and there. And so I have 6 triggers, and I can play or just create any rhythm. And So that is basically the rhythmical stuff. But afterwards, like let's do some melodical stuff, and then afterwards we will get a bit more complicated, and we will go more and more advancing. It's important to start with the simple things, but then you will see that almost all the connections that you do in the Eurorack are the same, and it's just try it out. So let's do the following. So I have here the oscillator. It's called the new Godspeed. It has a MIDI, and what I'm patching it into the Ghost module with the short cables. The short cables allow you to have more space in your patch, and let's do it connected here. I just set the output of the module. I'm putting it here. So basically, I have a constant tone, and I just need to shut it down. To shut it down, I just need to have the envelope to some pre-VCA, so it will be just like shorting off the tone of my oscillator, right? And then I need to play my oscillator, and when only the keys are playing, the envelope will work. So I have the gate signal on the track 3, for example. I have it here on the gate, and I put it here on the trigger. Everything is good, but it's missing the melodical context, right? So I want to add pitch CV. The pitch CV is like 1 volt per octave, is a Eurorack standard, and we patch it to the oscillator 1 volt per octave. And so we have right now the melody, which is playing. So in the end, what we created is just basically the simplest voice. Voice is just what we have, and just the simplest voice means that we can even like play it like in a SH101 mode, right? So for example, we press the record, and then okay, so just very simple thing, like, but it's something bread and butter that you can work with, and something that you can already like something that moving. Okay, you have the bass line, you have the drums, and you just can go on. And what we can do like a bit better. So the first thing is like the analog oscillators is like, you know, all analog oscillators, they need to be tuned because it has a warming out and warming up, I think. And that's why the problem becomes when we have a MIDI CV that generates volt per octave. So the notes on the keyboard will correspond to the frequencies, to the standard frequencies of the oscillator. And when I started with the Eurorack, it was the initial problem that it was important to make it fit it easily, that you are not like using the tuners, and then I will not press the A note and it will be like, okay, it will exactly I know, because I mean maybe not everyone has a perfect hearing. I not probably do as myself, but after many years we came with auto-tuning system, and auto-tuning systems, they are like, I see like some other companies also do that, but we did it first, and in a way that we innovated also with that module, the Godspeed. So in the end, the only thing you need to do is just to apply the A note on the keyboard, well, or as a reference one, and press the tune button. So in the end, the oscillator stands exactly in the A note, but in the nearest one, which is like lower or higher. And we need to... But I know that it is exactly A note, and right now what I can do, I double press here on the tune button, and it is called like a lock. It's a new feature. I mean, I saw some other things did it, but it's kind of cool. What it means? That means that I can now tweak the pitch frequency knob, and the tune will stay, and the volt per octave only will control it. I can play melodies, but I cannot mess it accidentally when I am on stage. You know, when I'm on stage, everyone is like, we are anxious. There is a kind of feelings. It's not everyone can stand and withstand that. But I mean, that's like some nice live features. They always help in the kind of situations. And the Eurorack is a kind of very sensitive gear. It's not like a kind of the standalone keyboard synthesizer that you just tune it a bit and it works. It's just something that lots of things can happen, lots of problems can happen on stage, whatever. Some people can just, or some cable, not even people, just accidentally some cable can be just be broken. So it's not, it's kind of a risky a bit also to mess around. But in the end, if it works, just don't touch it, you know, and it will be good. So what we have here is like I have. So we have like a bass line, and the bass line kind of maybe could be like inspiration for that bass line, could be like a SH101 synthesizer that we did like also with the previous Godspeed. But so what is SH101? It's a single oscillator which is like the bass line defined almost like the whole genre, of music, and it's just a simple bass line synthesizer, but it can do simple things like we can do with the like sawtooth, with the more like even things. Always more with the odd, with more square waves. And then there is extra noise. And after more noise adding, the bass line become more like, you know, more defined, and some and depending on the even and odd, you have more like a warm, cold things, so you just can manage with the things. And that's the first voice with so we have it like SH101, and basically almost every, like, started from krautrock bands and I think up to all the 80s, all the 90s, all the things. It's just a simple bread and butter stuff. So what we have afterwards, we have one more voice left, and basically that's a dual oscillator, the further generator. And the further, it was always like a West Coast stuff, and West Coast means that it means some kind of like experimental blips and blobs and so on. But I mean, it can do even both. So what? Let's try to do that. So and I mean, with the dual oscillator comes lots of like musical theory or something, because sometimes you can do oscillators. You can do it like with Yamaha DX synthesizer, so it's like a FM. So you have two oscillators, and it's kind of cool when they both track the same pitch. Then you can just do the same like a normal synth. So I just have a pitch CV from my first track one, and I'm just like multiplying it. That's a IntelliJo multiplier, and you see I have a pitch CV here, and it just goes all over through the jacks. And what I need to do is just need to apply those jacks into 1 volt per octave of my oscillators, and it will start to tune it, right? So I can use some cables, but instead I can show you one solution, because when I started to do modular synthesizer, that always you need to track 1 volt per octave, and you need to tune oscillators, and you need to place some scaled voltages, so the pitch of your oscillator will become very correct. And it becomes a problem if you only see the tuner of your Ableton or, I don't know, guitar tuner or something. So that's why we invented in parallel. We invented extra tuners that can help you to be fast and easier. Things don't need to, even like when you are on stage, it's always like you just cannot take a tuner and say like, hello, I will wait, wait me, I will just tune. You just need to do it, and very fast. So what I'm doing right now is like the pitch CV is going from my sequencer. I'm multiplying it into 2 autopilot modules. It's a new autopilot in the small IntelliJ 1U format. So you can just mess it around, place it in your empty spaces, and it just helps you to tune the oscillators, just to be in tune, because sometimes it's nice to be out of tune and to play experimental, but sometimes when you're in tune, everything just gather together. It's just another type of I don't know, something. So let's do the following. I will just do a special trick, and I use Boss Sawtooth oscillators. I plug it into the Milky Way module. Milky Way is our effect processor, and I just plug it into the inputs. Then from the outputs, I'm just patching directly into the Ghost module. So because we are going to create another voice. And then from the Ghost, I just like output, I plug it into my empty. Into empty channel of the mixer, because the mixer is like 8 channels and I can use any one, just as you use any one of here. So I have here, basically what I have here. So I hear here, it's just a mess. And basically when you have your oscillators, like any first time you rec, it will just... That's how it will look like, right? And now, from those chaos, we want to make something like a straightforward, so that you can be just like make a hit or just use it in a musical way. So what we have in the autopilot, we have the reference waveforms, and the reference waveforms is something like it needs to listen the frequency of oscillators. And I'm just plugging any spare waveform, like on a Doppler oscillator, any that has lots of waveforms. And I'm just using like simple square waveforms into the reference oscillators. And you can see that the tuners here start to repeat just the LEDs, just it here. And the system that I started to use since like many years ago is like when you have 2 LEDs on, like here, it's like exactly like A note or C note in the thing. Because lots of people started to tune to the C note because it's like 0 volts, you can tune without cables, whatever. The last thing is like volt per octave. I swear it will be just a few more, and we will start to have some musical things afterwards. And we will just place it into the 1 volt per octave to make it like feedback or something. I mean, your rec is a bit of like you need to mess around a bit. And then I will turn off only one oscillator. And I will just press the tune button. And that one, I know it's A note, but right now I need to press the keyboard. And now, okay, that one is A note, and another one, I just... Okay, so that is basically, I mean, the oscillators are slightly out of things. I mean, it's just a few cents, but in the end, they are in unison. So that means that you are like in a something that you can deliver the melody and something that can hook your listeners up to. So in the end, what we need to do is like to have the envelope, because all those are nice, but we need to close the sound. Let's close the sound by patching the envelope output into the pre-VCA, so it will close it. And then there is a trigger. Is every time I press the keyboard, I have a gate, and I patch it into the ghost trigger input. I have a shorter cable. Sometimes you need to use different cable size. It's easier to monitor the patch. And all right, so we are having already something. So basically, that's a, like kind of, we have a like a voice, like a, it's probably not that kind of such a sufficient voice, but we will go further. And we have, and with the thing, with those kind of reverbs, when the cockpit, I can kind of a bit mango it to make it a bit of like sound like super soar, get some chorus, so I can get it more like a lead line, very interesting. And here I have like SH101, kind of like essential one, right? And here, and I here have kind of like a drum kit. So in the end, we can right now play a jam, or we can just make a performance. So it will be just super easy to understand how it works all together. I have here even some to program something, but we can do even like program it just without anything, and it will be super easy to understand. So first thing, we need to have a kind of like a metronome or something. And for metronome, it's super easy to have like 16 clock. Okay, I just clean it up. I will clean up those things. So we have at least a metronome running. I have here the shuffle, and I think the shuffle is a bit, right now it's fine, because shuffle we will put it a bit later. And we have, so we have a simple hi-hat that gives us the tempo. I can make it a bit slower. And we started to play some melody. And first thing first, like, let's see if we are in tune. Okay, I press the A note. All the LEDs are on. Let me check another oscillators. It's on, like here, it's both on. So just, I mean, sometimes you need to be careful. Sometimes since the oscillators, they're warming up and they getting a bit slightly out of tune, so we need to wait a bit. So let's play some. So I have kind of like, I don't know, super soarish sound, but it will work. What we need to do is like personal inspiration. Maybe we can use arpeggiator. Let's try. So I have a nice combo. There are some combos, and sometimes you cannot avoid them because you have some menu driving, but we don't have menu driving. Sometimes we are combos. I press tempo and record, and let's try to record some. First thing, I just need to put like a long 64 steps to have some kind of progression. And let's try to record something. One second. It was just a bit of. bass line. Okay, I have here, the bass line is a bit too harsh, so I would just, another trick. We have some different envelope outputs, and I just also apply some envelope into the VCF. So envelope will also not close only the VCA, but also VCF, so it will give me more like a like that. I will do that right now. We will shape it out. You will see later. Let's just record something and we'll go in the further patching. And we'll press record tempo and record, so it will wait until the first step and we will just do something. I don't know. Okay, I didn't enable the arpeggiator, I'm sorry. We will do it right now. So I have here 64 steps. I have that one and that's my melody. I will let's do some drums, and the drums is just basically fills or gives all the rhythmical pattern of it, because right now we're doing some kind of very simple on the metronome kind of thing, and we can do it in a different ways. So okay, so sometimes probably the most, like when you find some groove and you basically playing some kind of jamming in Ableton, you have some kind of like the patterns that you like, and in the end you come up with some kind of patterns that play well together. So in the end what we have found out is, okay, we have some kind of pattern set that play well nicely, so let's develop a bit more, so what we can do to play it better, because in the end we don't have our Ableton with us, it's like a raw modular sound, and what we can do first is, like on the Ghost we have here the tone shaping equalizer. So the first thing I would like for melody, that I have it here, I would make it more like I leave it more for the high frequencies, while for the bass line I leave it more for the lower frequency and make it lighter. in the end. What do we do afterwards? We can add shuffle, and the shuffle is probably what defines some style of music like house or some kind of some UK style of music. So we do the things with our important thing is the sidechain. Sidechain is like makes a muddy track, and then from the muddy track you can at least clean up some sort of things, because in the end everything is just going into some stereo mixing, and you don't have any tools to improve it. So basically everything goes from the kick drum. So the kick drum is just basically gives us a trigger. And the trigger for the kick drum, I'm just multiplying it with those IntelliJ or another multiplier, and I'm just getting back the kick drum here, so it works. And then I have another with a small cable. I just use it one more into the sidechain CV input and of the cockpit mixer, and another one, it's a short cable, we have into another channel of here. And then basically we have a melody and we have a bass drum, so we need to bass drum to duck on each of their bass drum is just ducking on each of the drum triggers, and the ducking is defined by the envelope amount. Sidechain is all nice, it's all good. What we can do more is add some effects or adding some drops, or let's say making other patterns. And with a sequencer, it's possible to very easy to program basically the chain of your patterns, and you can write all your patterns very easily in a kind of probably and control them in Ableton kind of style way, just with one finger, so you can just easily concentrate on the live and just don't be interrupted what you need to go in the menu dialog. So and let's do like in the thing. So we just first we need to let's do it. I think it's too loud. So you need to have a few like an intro, let's say with the drums, and then with the bass. Let's do it very easily because we have all those patterns. I have those patterns in the O, so I just save them all. So they are like here. But first I need to multiply them into different patterns. So I just save the drums into different cells with different names, and I do the same for my melodic track, and I do the same for my bass line. So if I go with the Q, with the R, everything all the same. So how when I enter? I want to enter only with the pad, and I maybe just do some kick drums that I don't want to do. So let's clear here the bass line, and I clear here some of the bass drum. And I'm just pressing just one button. It will switch to another pattern that we write before. And then maybe afterwards you want to make a verse, or you want to think, for example, and that's where we need to kill the pad. And what we just kill it, we have only bass drum with a bass line. And then I just want to return back to all together. And after 64 steps, it will return. So that's how like a very small but efficient sequencing, so you can just make your ideas, or just like make a small arpeggio, so that you just have it in mind, and you can just play them and just put them, and it will be correspond to all the synthesizers you play, that all the keyboards you play. And so that is, I consider the sequencer is just like a notepad, so you just write your ideas musical and it will go there. So in the end you have a live system that just like your small ideas, you can just write them down here, I mean with a bit of patch cables help, but it will stay there, and you can do there like every like with if you play with the band, you can do just a quick sketch of a song, let's call it like that. And then what we can do more is like we have here the pedals, and the pedals that we did is like some of the pedals, it's not like a very typical guitar pedals, but they are like also work good with the synthesizers. And one is the effect pedals, which called Ghost as well, and another one is the Golden Master, that is like end of chain processor. End of chain means that you have lots of desktop synthesizers, and you want to play in the club after the DJ that plays very mastered track. And that usually happens when you have lots of small like different synthesizers without any mixer console. All the mix will become muddy, and it will become super dynamic, and you will not have the same power as the DJ before power or after you played just from the USB stick. So what we did is our inspiration from the mastering processors, that we put them into the live performance. So just put it on stage. I mean, just in the end, like people did like mastering in the 90s with them. So why not use such kind of ideas in modern electronic music? So let's do. So in the end, we have very simple controls. So what we have is just we have equalizer, which each of the bands we can kill. And we can leave only the lows, and we have the highs. And you can set the levels. It's basically like isolator on a typical DJ mixer in a way, but each of the bands can also introduce the compression, so you can add compression for some of the special sounds, and you can add the mid and side stereo spread, so your mixes will become essentially more powerful. Let's try it out. I mean, it will push your mixes into the more powerful stuff. It will sound powerful, and let's try how it will be. We have the pattern Q, only the bass drums. Okay. So you can add more bass drum, or you can add more of the things. And then you can overcompress the low end. So in the end, you can put the very high level of the low end, and it will still not hit the limiter of the club. And in the end, we have the mid-side compression, so you can have more stereo separation. Alright, let's leave it. I will just lower a bit the volume from the Eurorack, because usually sounds are pretty high, so we'll need to Alright. Okay, it's here, pardon. Now we are good. Okay. And then what we need is basically to add some dynamic to the performance. And the performance is something like dynamic things are always cool, because we can do some interesting things. That's very simple, like what we did. And then here is the ghost pedal, and just a small thing that I didn't tell you, that we have a recent update that just adds some randomization of the parameters and randomization of the modulations. And what it creates instant like a FX Twin like atmosphere, so you can just easily put it on the drops, and you can find really interesting results with it. Let's find out how it works. So I would just start to turn off the pads. signal just evolves here, and every parameter, it just works in a kind of unpredictable way, but on the phone. That, like the kind of ecosystem, helps you to find creative blocks and find own ways to write music. So that I think, like more or less, the patch is rather simple, but with a kind of simple approaches and just building more blocks and just keeping everything in a one scale, because I mean in the end to have it like in a musical way, but it's the same as you saw, it was allowed us to have a kind of like always to create a custom groove box of what instruments of what you prefer, of your like, and some of the parts, lots of parts you can place on your own, but you already have the impression of how it could be. Let's try maybe some a bit more of the things. I will show you just a bit more. And in the end, you can do everything, and it's just one form of inspiration that I wanted to show you. I believe the workshop was inspired for you, but also like if you have any question and answers, I'm ready to answer them also right now without anything. Yeah.
Thank you. Any questions? I have a question from my side. Considering your sequencer, is there any like a scales inside, or you should know all the notes and so on?
Well, the scales are here, and the scales are for the tracks, for the melodic tracks, right? And you can choose different so because the LEDs are on the buttons, so you can choose which of their notes will follow the scale, and at the same time you can choose chromatic, you can choose major, and you just can select the root note with plus and one, plus minus buttons. So it will show you instantly, because basically the C major and the, let's say, A minor, it's all the A notes, all the white notes. So in the end, I see there are some sequencers that have scales, like Oxy, for example, or something. I don't know how it helps to build a track. I personally don't know. So, but I mean, probably that if you don't have a musical degree or something like that. But I think it's not that important. I think you need just to follow, just at least play the same notes, or try to follow the tune of the oscillator. It's very hard sometimes with the modular to track everything. It just goes like people come, especially if analog synthesizers, you just make a sound check and everything is fine, and then the public arrives, and then they breathe, and then the oscillators goes out of tune. So that's a problem. Then you need to tune them back. Then it's also like the sounds. Then you need, just like when you try it with the empty public venue, you have the kick with one thing, and then you just the public arrive and the kick is just getting into the bass line, and it's you cannot recover it, so you just need to gain more, but during performance it's not always easy. So that's why I mean everything is like connected. But in the case of the scales, yes, it's kind of super easy, because there are some kind of melodic minor, there are Lydian scales, major, pentatonic, so it's kind of super easy just like to add your own scale, and in the end you have just everything played in it. I don't know how can it personally. I don't know how it can help for the artist, but it probably can do the job. Yeah, it can be interesting. Yeah. All right. Good.
Yeah, I think if there are no more questions, then we might just.
Yeah. Sure.
So both of your ghosts there,
Mm-hmm.
the modular ghosts,
Mm-hmm.
they're playing lots of roles. Did I understand correctly? VCA, VCF, and also effects.
Well, I think it's because it's like the oscillators go into the ghost, right? And the ghost has it's basically what it is. It just has effects, it has a distortion, and it has a filter. So depending on the routing, and VCA, it has two VCAs. It has pre-VCA and it has post-VCA. So depending where you patch, it's like pre-VCA, it will shut the music just before, after at the gain input stage. So that's why you can just close that thing, and then you just can open it, and the effects will follow. But then you can put it in the post VCA and simultaneously use the same envelope for the filter to open the filter and VCA at the same time. I mean, you can do that, but depending on the routing, because we picked like 3 different routing types, and the idea of the Ghost module initially was to have it kind of like a kick drum, the idea of the Ghost was to have a techno rumble module. So the idea was like to put the kick drum into the Ghost, and then the reverse reverb will make the whooping sounds, and with the filter you just shape it, and then with the distortion you distort it, and with the compressor. So it's, if you go to the YouTube tutorials how to make a techno rumble, typical like classical commercial business techno rumble, so it's basically the chain of effects that you have. But in the end, like, it was like initial like inspiration for that, but in the end, like, it's the effects. They are just like generic effects, and just placing them or one by one or in different combinations, you can get different flavors. You can get like a very clean voice, or you can very distorted voice, or you can get like a normal thing. And so there is even like distortion after the reverb, after the effects. It gives really nasty sounds. It just like some of those. It can be really like sound design wise. It's like pretty cool, but it can be also like very clean. So distortion before the filter, so you saturate the filter nicely, and then effects, clean effects, so you have a voice. But basically, it's just similar, the same. So it says oscillator goes into the filter and then goes to the VCA to shut it off, and then filter some effect somewhere around. And the idea is that you have like kind of voices, and even like I don't know, like you have like even the craziest like Richard Divine patches that you have, I mean, they are not that like they are sounding probably similar, but in the end, in those chaotic things, most of the things are also structured. So the more structure you use the voices, the easier you can be. So I believe that everything is so the whole structure is just even for chaotic things, even for experimental sounds, it can be working, yeah. And so and it's nicely that in the pedal. So I don't know, like that lots of people use pedals with the synthesizers, and we did like a ghost pedal. It was like kind of nice inspiration, but I also did lots of like homework, because we did it working with the guitars. And guitars, it was completely different world for me. We did it in a nice way with all those true bypass, with some extra amplifications. But in the end, the pedal became pretty cool because it has all those randomness out of the box with the recent update. So it becomes very nice for the drops in context of modern electronic music. So that's what Jay was just wanted to show in that workshop.
Question.
Yeah.
The reverb on the lead sound, was it the Ghost or the Mercury?
It was both, actually. It was
okay.
it was a cool feature. Like, look, it's like I have it here. I know the bass line is here. So I'm here, and I'm just turning it off. So basically, that's a pure sound. And what you hear is basically, it's a delay. It's a delay. Yeah. So that's just, and then Milky Way, I added like kind of chorus, like a super saw stuff, and I just. So in the end, it was kind of like a pad. So with a fast arpeggio, with lots of reverb before the oscillator in oscillators, and then all the filtering, all those things in the end. So just like to get some mood atmosphere. I think the most important thing is not like getting like kind of cool techno bass line, or like how to get that kind of like techno rumble stuff to play in in the clubs. I think it's most important when you do any instrument, like in Eurorack, anything. The most important is like you do something and you get into the mood, and the mood is something like something gets moody, so you feel that you have kind of something that you can put, I don't know, on the visuals. You can put it somewhere on there in some kind of advertising. You can soundtrack some of your life, for example, or even like in a clubs, right? I mean, why not? Just in the things. But it's very important, I think, to get, once you catch it, just follow it. And I think it's just important to how develop the musical piece, what you get out of the instrument, any instrument. Yeah, some instruments are easy to get, some instruments are harder. Maybe somewhere are super easy to get, like you get kind of random sequencers that are super fast, one button you play, but they self-generating, and probably sometimes I just want to have exactly like my melodies that are inner myself playing. I just want to play it. So sometimes I'm not saying that sequencer is the perfect sequencer in the world. There is no like, but everything is just you need to either you need to play notes or you want to generate them on your own, or you need to somehow mangle with them, or you need to everything extra self-generated or just like quick jump. So that's everything is for each task. It requires separate tools. And the beauty of Eurorack that you can combine, you can play all together. I mean, it's a Eurorack setup. In the end, it's a bit of a hybrid setup because it has a pedals a bit. Some oscillators like Godspeed, it has a MIDI, so there are some kind of stereo cables. And with the stereo cables, you can connect directly with the MIDI directly into the MIDI input, so you can just don't think about warming up of the oscillators. It's kind of pretty cool because I mean, I think like recent like 10, 20 years, just people like with analog oscillators, they plump to the clubs, they don't tune. It's a first thing, you know. And then even like I got some recent like even like modern vintage synthesizer, and everything is like tuning is kind of hard. So at some point from oscillators to some filters and some sequences, that's where the musical path leads you. Good. I think there was a question also.
Yeah, actually more like 2.5. First question, you mentioned there's a firmware update for Ghost. Is that only available for the pedal or also for the Euro?
It's for the pedal, you know, because it was like rolled out like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. So that's for the pedal. And the thing is like, you know, for the pedal, because the pedal is a bit different because the pedal doesn't have a CV. And the pedal has only like knobs, a few knobs that you can put there, and it has CCs with a MIDI, and it has LFOs that can modulate everything. And the Eurorack is just basically has OCV for every of the things. And I don't know, it's like we received a few questions like, why didn't you do the same random for the Eurorack? And I mean, we can do that, but it probably would be not, I don't know, maybe it's not that kind of idea, but it will just randomize the parameters. It will not randomize, it will not give the movement, because the movement is a movement. So the movement, everything, all those sweeps and so on, it's going on still. Everything is synchronized to the MIDI, and it's synchronized to the clock of the sequencer. So they all, I mean, of course, because they are connected with the MIDI cable, and that's why it makes sense, because you can get instant rhythmical things with the Eurorack. Probably for the rhythmical things, you need to apply different other modules like LFOs, like clocked LFOs, like different things. So I think maybe it's just not that it's not impossible, but I personally think that maybe it will just bring a mess, because all the values will be different values as the knobs, and it's probably not will be as clear, because it will be more math. It will bring more math, and it will not be like crazy modulations should be applied otherwise as well, externally, something like that.
Can you control the randomness in the pedal?
Well,
Like a threshold?
I get the mix control.
Okay.
So in the end, it works pretty nicely. So I have the clean sound and the thing, and there are like two types of randomness. I got inspiration from Rowan TB03, and it's like it's a boutique latest acid line 03 revision. It has like two types of randomization. So it has a random notes, and then it has random variations. So I had a few. I had even like Behringer, this acid baseline, but it just doesn't make any sense with the new Roland. It just nails them, because with a combination of the button you have random one. You find random notes as you wish, and then you get random variation. Is just those notes are like randomized very lightly slides and ties and a bit of an octave shift, just a bit. So in that case, I think that works best, because I mean, knowing the conservative as Roland is, and I tried different options, and we don't even randomize volume and mix. It's just stay all the time, because you always want to just be in the studio and you want to control the volume, so it will not be absolutely, you don't need that random, and you just add it by the taste. So, and the random is just applies random to modulations or apply randoms to parameters. And in the end, like, you find one nicely, you play with another, and you catch nice modulations, you just apply random until you want. So I think it's a nice thing. I think it's also like even like you have a like Moog Labyrinth, for example. You play until you just apply cycling through the sequence, and until you find a nice groove that you find that plays nicely, and you just stop it like a Turing machine, right? And you just go and continue with it. Thank you so much.